Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I am truly humbled to be here with everyone to show you how we're taking C#, Visual Studio, and Xamarin and making it the absolute best way to build apps on every single platform. And a lot of time it starts at the beginning, the installation process, the getting started. And we're optimizing that experience so you can install Visual Studio and Xamarin within 5 minutes and get your app on the device. But also, we want to enhance the debug cycle so you don't even have to compile your code to see it running live. Let me show you what that looks like. I've been building our Smart Hotel iOS and Android applications inside of Visual Studio. I have my shared code project up here on the right, and then my Android and iOS application. I'm going to use the brand new Xamarin Live Player right here on my iOS device that I've installed from the App Store. The Xamarin Live Player enables me to use our minimal installation or any installation of Visual Studio and Xamarin to debug and automatically iterate on my apps over Wi-Fi. So check this out. I'm going to go to Xamarin Live Player, Manage Devices, and simply pair it to Visual Studio. So I'll bring up the camera, just pair it to the QR code, and just like that, my iOS device is ready to deploy code. So what do I always do? Come in, tap Debug. Right here, I see all of my shared XAML. All of the files are being transferred to my iOS device where the app is being interpreted. Nothing is compiled. But I'm in a real live debug session, so I can start using the app. So let's say James, and I'll say password. That seems secure. And what I've done here is not only saw my user interface, but I added a breakpoint to validate the sign-in. So when I hit sign in, I hit the breakpoint. I have all the locals, all the call stack, everything that I would expect all locally running on my device. Now, doing that with nothing more than an iOS or Android device is awesome, but I also want to rapidly iterate on the design and my code. So why should I even have to compile? So let's go back over to the login view. I'm going to now use my favorite feature of the Xamarin Live Player by right-clicking and saying Live Run. And immediately, the single screen of my application is redeployed. Now, this one looks pretty good, so let's toggle over to the home view. Immediately, as soon as I tap on that XAML file, it shows up on my device. But let's take a look at the menu view. It's looking not so great right now. I'm going to set down my iOS device here, and let's start modifying some XAML. So I should probably insert a header here, maybe give it some nice images. So I'm going to drag and drop over a XAML snippet. Now, I don't even have to save the file. It redeploys my changes immediately over to the device. But what's great is that it's not just doing user interface, it's also my source code. So if I come into the code behind where I'm initializing the menus, I only see a home menu. Let's flesh this out a little bit. So I'm going to come in, drag and drop over the rest of the menus. The Xamarin Live Player picks up all of my changes and redeploys. I never have to stop my development. It just automatically redeploys my code with an iOS or Android device. Now, I love the Xamarin Live Player, but I want to show you the full app experiences that you can build in C# and Visual Studio. So what I'm going to do is hop over here. I have my iOS and Android device in hand, and I'm going to launch the finished version of the Smart Hotel application. And I'm going to dual wield here and attempt to book a hotel room both at the same time. We'll see if I can do it. So we have a beautiful, stunning application. I've logged in with my Microsoft account. I can find some information or swipe out, and I've logged in with Microsoft Authentication, so it picks up my info. I'll hit book room, and it automatically uses the device location to see I'm in New York and adds that as a suggestion. So let's go ahead and tap through. Beautiful, stunning animations. I can maybe book for about a week or so. Here are all the hotels in the New York area. And again, I'm really getting this visually stunning application, parallax, everything I would expect. And I can simply book the room. And notice I'm getting the native iOS and Android user interfaces because it's a native application. So now once I'm logged in and I've actually booked my hotel room, I don't know about you, but I hate waiting in line. I get off the airplane, I get to the hotel. Why should I even have to wait to check in to my room? Well, we can use the power of these devices. For instance, Android has NFC. And what we've also done is not only built an application for smart devices, but also kind of a digital door. So imagine this is a door right here, and Henry's over here super excited for us to check in. So I take it, I simply go ahead and tap, and on our NFC, it automatically detects that it's me, and now I'm in my room. So building multiple applications, but it doesn't stop there. Because once I'm in my hotel room, the context switches. I want a beautiful desktop tablet-type application. And that's why I'm here on Smart Hotels Surfaces. So immediately I can come in, I can see some room temperature, I can get some recommendations for restaurants. It knows me, so it recommends me only coffee. Perfect. I love it. I can also come back and do other things, though, such as start to go to my room. If I forget my toothbrush or I need towels or something, I can book it, or even change the settings. So we can build these types of experiences across every single form factor and operating system. And what I want to do is show you a final Xamarin solution and what this application looks like. And notice that I said that we are developing a solution, multiple applications across multiple operating systems. Inside of here, I have my Smart Hotel client, Android, iOS, and Windows applications, my heads of the application. I have my Smart Door. I have my UI and unit tests inside of here, and my ASP.NET Core backend systems. And everything is in here. The shared code is all of my business logic, models, view models, RESTful service calls, Azure integration, everything that is the same. And since we're using a shared XAML native user interface, all of my UI is here as well. Now, you may be saying, well, what does this look like to build applications in C# for iOS and Android? Well, it's going to look exactly like that C# code that you've been writing for years and you know and love. I come in, I create an HTTP client, I make RESTful service calls, I use JSON.NET to deserialize my JSON, all my NuGet packages, everything that I know and love. Now, if I need to, I can always come into any of the projects to access 100% of the APIs. So here's the card service where I'm binding to Android's NFC service. I have full code coverage, 100% of APIs in C#. We're making it an absolute delightful experience to build applications inside of Visual Studio with C# and Xamarin. Now, before I go away, there is one more thing I want to talk about, which we know that a lot of developers and companies have investments in existing code bases. Those code bases may not be in C#. They could be Objective-C, Swift, or Java applications. And it's kind of a shame that you can't start sharing code between those apps. But what if you could? What if you could take everything I showed you with C# and .NET and use those libraries in an Objective-C, Swift, or Java application? Well, you can, because today we're announcing .NET embedding, enabling you to build native libraries for iOS and Android with shared code. So I'm going to hop over to my Mac, and it's a different application. I'm a big Kickstarter fan, and I love Kickstarter's open source iOS and Android apps, and that's what I have here. But they're written in Swift and Java. So I can't really contribute as a C#.NET developer. But as a Kickstarter backer myself and backing a few hundred projects, I've always thought of an idea of adding suggestions based on what I want. So when I go to my Kickstarter, of course, it recommends me, I see all the coffee projects that I've searched for. But what am I going to do inside of the Swift? I don't know what's going on. I got to go learn Swift. I got to go redo the user interface and the business logic twice. But with .NET embedding, I can simply come into Visual Studio. I'm going to create a shared code base, all of my business logic, models, view models, and shared user interface with XAML. Okay? So I've added a suggestion screen that I can now embed in both iOS and Android. So I have an iOS and Android library. And down here, I have our .NET embedding NuGet package that I've installed. Now what happens here is I compile my .NET library, send it through our .NET embedding embeddinator tool, and what that does is generate an iOS framework or Android AAR file. So I hop back over to Xcode. If I scroll up to the top here, you can see I've brought in that shared framework that was generated from Visual Studio for Mac. If I scroll down, here's that shared suggestion view. I simply call into the shared code that I created and show the view. So I'll go ahead and do it. I'll tap on the suggestion view. And just like that, I'm now leveraging all of my C#, .NET, and shared user interface on iOS, and I can also bring this to Android. We know that you're going to absolutely love it and build amazing things in C# with Visual Studio. Thank you so much.